This is the victory lap narrative we're hearing from the pro-vaccine mandate, the left. They're saying 10,000 NYPD police officers were threatening to quit. Turns out only 34 defied the mandate, which is technically not true. But that's the narrative they're pushing because a lot of cops were threatening to quit over the vaccine mandate. There were fears that there was going to be a major crisis of crime in New York over this. It was going to backfire. It didn't work. And now here we go. Well, you saw the title of this video. You know exactly what's going on. And there's a lot to break down here. More than 2,000 New York City firefighters out sick as vaccine mandate takes effect. I gotta say, I'm not surprised. The firefighters were the ones who actually put up instead of shutting up. And the NYPD are the ones who, for the most part, shut up. But actually, the narrative about the NYPD also isn't necessarily correct. 34 are placed on unpaid leave. It doesn't mean that only 34 defied the mandate. My understanding is that several thousand are trying to get exemptions from this. But you know, they want to take their framing devices to make sure they get their victories, because in reality, what we're seeing is 9,000 NYC workers on leave as vaccine mandate takes effect. So, yeah, the vaccine mandate is having a major negative impact on New York City. Firefighters. So I actually was watching the news. I'm all sick the other day, right? And I'm watching the news and they're talking about how if you were to call 911 for emergency medical service or for fire service, your department might not actually dispatch to you, and they're going to have to get someone from further away because 2,000 firefighters said no. So that is a crisis. That is very serious for New York. But you know why I want to talk about this? There's a lot of news going on. We've got the governor's race in Virginia. You got New Jersey. We're going to talk about all that stuff because it's big news. And we've got the Rittenhouse trial. But, you know, if you saw my video from just early this morning, I got sick. And as somebody who runs a business, dealing with an outbreak at the business, and I fully understand vaccine mandates and mask mandates and testing requirements. And I also understand why they don't work. Having actually experienced, you know, having to solve these problems at a company. And I will tell you this, man, you try dealing with, we only have like 30 employees, but you try dealing with employees when people are getting sick. I'll tell you, I was screaming mad. I was livid because I will say, man, people are disrespectful and not everybody is willing to do what it takes to solve a collective problem. There were people who were just like lying about being sick. And how do you think we get it? Well, people get sick and they come into work. In this instance, that's not what happened. Nobody saw this coming. We had negative testing and everything. But, you know, in trying to deal with it, there are people who are just unwilling to, man, I got to say, here at Timcast, you get sick, you get unlimited sick time. Unlimited. You're sick, go home. You do your thing. Play video games. You're getting paid. They want to call me far right. The left wants to say all that stuff about it. No, I'm pretty lefty in how I run this and how I pay my employees. I'm like, if you're sick, just feel free to work from home, chill at home. You know, we'll do what we can to help you out. You don't got to worry about it. But people just don't want to. Some people just don't do it. But I did learn it doesn't work. And it's because we had the negative tests. We have vaccinated employees, not everybody. And one of those vaccinated employees ended up getting sick anyway. Another one of our vaccinated employees didn't get sick. And so I'm like, it's not, I'm not trying to extrapolate any information from that. It's just like, I don't see how a mandate would change any of this, especially when, you know, I was talking about this a couple weeks ago. When they announced that even if you are vaccinated, you can get a breakthrough case, they're rare. It's like 10, you're 10%, 90% less likely to get it. So it's like substantially lower. But if you do get it, you can't spread it. I'm like, okay, if that's the case, then everyone should still be required to get tests, right? They go, no, only if you're not vaccinated. And I'm like, but wait, you've got a major, you know, hole in your security on this one if you do that. So it didn't make sense to me. And then having gone through it, you know, I'll get into all of those details in a second. But we also have this story here from The Daily Mail. 41 Senate Republicans launch bid to nullify Biden's vaccine mandate on private companies with more than 100 employees. So Republicans are pushing back on this in the private sector. As for the public sector, here's what you're going to get. CBS News reports roughly 2,300 members of the New York City Fire Department claimed they were sick and didn't show up to work on Monday as the city's COVID-19 vaccine mandate for municipal workers went into effect. All city workers were required to have received at least one dose of the vaccine by October 29th. City leaders suspect many of those who didn't roll up their sleeves feigned illnesses to avoid being disciplined for failing to comply with the health requirement. Roughly 9,000 municipal workers were put on unpaid leave Monday for failing to meet the deadline and comply with the COVID-19 mandate, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio said. FDNY Commissioner Daniel Nigro said on Monday that firefighters had plenty of time to get vaccinated, and he implored those who have yet to get jabbed to get their shots so they can return to work. Normally, on any given day, fewer than 1,000 department members would be out sick, he said. The FDNY employs about 11,000 uniformed workers. And of course, we have from the AP, they say about 9,000 New York City municipal workers were put on unpaid leave for refusing to comply with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. So about 9 in 10 city workers covered by the mandate have gotten vaccinated. Firehouses remain open. So they've got 300,000 employees. So we're talking about a tiny fraction, what are we looking at? Like 3% or so of the staff of NYC, New York City's municipal workers are out. Not the end of the world. Significant. And when it comes to the firefighters, it's actually a bit more. It's nearing 20 or so percent of the fire department. So that's very, very serious. Let me tell you why this doesn't work. And I'll explain to you from my personal experiences. All right. How about this? From Axios. CDC director. U.S. may change definition of fully vaccinated as boosters roll out. All right. So let me break down some of the more specific details of what went down here and why I think this doesn't work. The narrative is bunk. We have many employees who are vaccinated, many who aren't. All right, because I always tell people, talk to your doctor, figure out what makes sense for you. Don't take advice from me. I'm not responsible for your medical choices. And so some people were like, they went and got it, and some people didn't. One person who is vaccinated ended up getting sick. Another person who was vaccinated around 3 or 4 months ago did not get sick. This is a person who cohabitates with another individual who isn't vaccinated and did get sick. And I think that right there says a lot, right? So I'm not going to tell you, I don't want to extrapolate too much from this, but I'll just put it this way. The person who got vaccinated and got sick got vaccinated a while ago. The person who got vaccinated and didn't get sick got vaccinated in the past few months. However, there was another individual who got sick earlier in the year, got COVID, and also has not tested negative one time. So there's actually a couple employees who didn't really get sick from this and had it in the past. So I think that may be natural immunity. You know what I really learned? Look, a lot of the news we got about this is exactly as it was reported. All right. So they say, there are some studies saying efficacy wanes and boosters are being recommended. They're recommending boosters for Johnson & Johnson. And I'm like, makes sense. The person who got vaccinated a long time ago ended up getting sick. And the one who got the more recent vaccination didn't get sick. So, hey, that makes a whole lot of sense, right? At least according to how the news reported. And then you have the natural immunity. And so I'm like, okay. So here's the deal. If I said, everybody's got to be vaccinated or else you don't get a test, here's what would have happened. The people who are vaccinated, the person who ended up getting sick, we would have been like, they're vaccinated, and we would have just carried on. And turns out it's COVID. I don't see how we get a guarantee of security from the vaccine. I fully think the individual isn't that sick, right? Which they say it reduces the severity of symptoms. Makes sense to me. All right. Well, that still would have gotten other people sick. So just by having a vaccine mandate, we're not any better off or safer. I mean, I suppose we're safer because people are less likely to get it. But What happens after, they change the definition? What happens if they got their vaccine a long time ago, earlier in the year, and there's like, they never got a booster or anything like that? Just saying like you're vaccinated good isn't solving the problem. Okay, well, how about a negative testing requirement? We had negative tests. We said to everybody, okay, if you're getting sick, then we want you to take a test, like let us know what comes out. And 4 negative tests. We saw 4. And so that, again, false positive. Like, not the test. I mean, this was like us thinking we were in the clear. And then it turns out it's COVID. So I'm thinking to myself, if we really want to make sure this doesn't happen again, what can we do? The fact is, vaccines help. I think that the likelihood of catching it is reduced. Seems to make sense to me, as we saw with the employee. However, if what they're saying about changing the definition and efficacy is true, then I don't know how implementing that policy is going to be a long-term solution. Unless what? I also mandate booster shots. I can't do that. It's absurd and ridiculous. The idea that I have the ability or our HR could track down everybody and maintain this, it's insane. Okay, I think what I realized is this is life now. We take it seriously. I wash my hands. We actually social distance on the show on Timcast IRL. You may have noticed the table's big. And everyone's like, why is your table so big? I'm like, we're far away from each other. Hey. And I like it. It's a good big table. So I don't see how these policies are actually going to solve this problem. I extrapolate that data, okay? Figuratively, I literally am not trying to extrapolate data, as I said. But from this experience, I then take a look to the fire department, to the police department, and I'm like, okay, so you get everybody vaccinated, reduces their chance of getting it, reduces severity. All of that is really good. But then someone still does get sick. Because what we're talking about here is a numbers game. 11,000 firefighters. Even if you reduce by a full order of magnitude the likelihood of catching it, it takes one person with the breakthrough case to spread it around. Now, still less likely to get it because of the vaccine, but now you're not. It's a false sense of security, in my opinion. I think that's my takeaway from this. So now we bring this out and we look at what's going on with private businesses. If I experience this and I'm like, I don't see how we solve for this. What's the point of being mandated if I was at 100 employees? Let me tell you something. I was furious. We had people here who were, I'm not sick. I'm totally fine. Yo, if you are sick, do not come into work. This is not some cutthroat corporation where we're like, everyone's got to come in no matter what. I see these posts on the anti-work subreddit where they're like, called in sick. My boss would demand that I come in, regardless. And I said, no way, I'm sick. And then they were like, well, you have to work because we need you. And then I quit. And I'm like, yo, we're the opposite. How dare you come into work sick? I don't want anybody getting sick. I don't want to get sick. I don't want any other worker to get sick. We get somebody gets sick, they can't work. It's not the same as like you need to be in, it's the weird. Like I guess if you're working at a restaurant, and they're like, someone needs to be here to do this job. Well, you should not be going and working at a restaurant if you're sick. That's for sure. But here it's like, yo, people can work from home. All right. But I tell you this, man, I guess people just really love being here. If you've watched the vlog, maybe you get it. We've got the Chicken City is now up and running. The chickens are in and we got to put the cameras in and everything. And then we're gonna have the Chicken City show. We're gonna have the Chicken City YouTube live stream. It's hilarious. Chickens, they do the little chicken thing. It's great. All right. So we got a lot of fun stuff going on. We got skate parks. We got music. Everybody wants to be here. And I'm like, I understand, but people also have to work here. And so we had people being like, I'm going to come into work sick. That is uncool. And then I'm just thinking like, see, that's why these companies do the vaccine mandates. That's why they do the negative testing requirements, because someone knows they're getting sick, but they don't care and they show up anyway. And then it can get everyone else sick. Now, again, that's not what happened in this regard. We had an employee, had no idea he was sick, got tested later, and I do not fault anybody. Look, I don't fault people for getting sick. But if you know you're sick and you come in, That's like spitting in our faces. Like, because we're trying to do our work. We're trying to get by. Nobody wants to get sick. Ain't no shame in taking several days off. Or I'm like, dude, unlimited sick time. That's what we do here. Here you get unlimited sick time. If you are sick for 2 weeks, I'm like, just, at a certain point, I'll say, we'll try and find someone to fill in for you, but just get better. Not going to cut your pay. You don't even got to think about it. We just make sure that you're healthy, because what I believe in is passion. Because passion and being comfortable, I believe, drives success. So I don't want to have a place of work where people are stressed out, like I can't get the job done. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. No, you're not. Now, don't screw me over. That's the other thing. I can't be like, you will never face penalty for not doing your job. You got to do your job. You got to work. But we want you to feel comfortable and know that you don't got to worry about it, because getting sick happens, especially now with COVID, right? So we're trying to make it a place where we can all work together. We can be passionate about our jobs. We don't got to get stressed out about it. And so I'm like, these things happen. But I can tell you this, man. You get angry. Someone gets you sick and you're trying to work. You get it. You're like, man, I can't believe this person got me sick. You're mad about it. And then you think, if we had a negative testing requirement or mandates, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And honestly, I thought that. The first thing I thought was like, well, if we had a vax mandate and a testing requirement, man, it never would have happened. And then I thought to myself, the problem with that is like, the logic just falls apart immediately. It popped in my head. I'm like, this is why they do it. And then I thought about it. I'm like, and that's why it doesn't work. Because we went out and we got a bunch of these tests, and we had 4 negative tests, and we thought we were just going to be sick. We thought we were just going to get a cold. And I was like, it'll be a couple days, and then I'll be back to normal. But then it started escalating. And then I took a test, and I tested positive. So I think the reality is we need to be cautious. I think everything that I and many others have said in the past is accurate. We need to protect the vulnerable. We need to take it seriously, social distancing, things like that, washing your hands, sanitizing. And we need to realize that we can't hide from it. It's kind of crazy to me, because I feel like that if we went back to normal, like getting like just, I think it's fair to say we're mostly back to normal. I'm not trying to say we're not. But now they're doing like, mask and vaccine requirements and stuff. And I'm like, that's actually not going to solve the problem. But I suppose if these other companies are going to do their thing, fine, whatever. I think discriminating on the basis of medical ability, like procedures, is wrong. And I think we need people to step up. I think the left, the way they see it is the Democrats, the mandate people, stepping up means getting vaccinated and all that stuff. And I'm like, I get it. I do. What am I going to do? Just, okay, no exemptions? Then I say exemptions. Then people say, I would like to claim one. And then I say, okay. It's just ridiculous. It absolutely just makes no sense. What I think the problem is that there are people who are just willing to be disrespectful. They're unwilling to accept that they're sick. It reminds me of these movies I see where it's like people are in a quarantine and they try to break the quarantine and get out. And I'm like, yo, you're really sick. Like, if you get out, you could end up spreading the disease like outside of your city. I can't remember what movie it was. There's like a zombie apocalypse or something. And then people are like, we need to escape quarantine. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, I'll tell you this, where I live, if the word came down and they said this county is being quarantined because of a zombie outbreak, I'd be like, time to bunker down. Why? Because I understand why quarantines are implemented. But everybody says, I'm not going to be trapped here. It's like, yo, if you're sick and you're told to quarantine and then you go out and get people sick, that is a dick move. And there are people who do it. And so the response then is people are going to say, mandate them. Mandate all of them. Let them, if they want to be dicks, fine. But I'm like, yo, I'm not going to mandate 99 people because one person's a dick. We accept that. that it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. You see, that logic is beyond just criminal trials. Right? It is a part of my worldview. If there is one person who would do something wrong, I'm not going to punish every single person or put burdens and responsibility on everyone because one or two people would do something bad. This is the problem I think Democrats have. The elite, Republicans and Democrats alike, they view regular people as too stupid to do the right thing. And you know what? The reality is they're not completely wrong. However, they want to be in charge because they know better. Well, I'll tell you this. I know better than a lot of people. I know you do too. But I don't want to be in charge. I don't want to tell someone what to do. If someone does something dumb, I'll say, stay away from me. It's that simple. I don't like smoking, right? I don't like cigarette smoke. I don't like the smell. I don't like being around it. And if there's someone, I go to the casino, right? Someone's smoking a cigarette at a table, I'll get up and go to a different table. Like, if I see a table with someone smoking at it, I will choose not to go to that table. If someone comes to my table smoking, well, now they've come to me, but if the casino allows it, I'll finish out my hand and I'll get up and go somewhere else. I got no problem. I'm not mad at the guy. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to seek out to improve my situation. This is the reality I think I'm going to face. And we hear that we're going to take it seriously as we do. We clean often. We have a cleaning crew, as I mentioned before. It is an extremely brutal illness. You know, it's really funny. There are people who are like tweeting at me and things like that saying like, it's just the sniffles and like, what a loser. And yeah, everybody gets it different. And I got it really bad. I'm not kidding how bad I got it. I will say I had it really bad. I was calling the hospital. I was on the verge of going to the emergency room. And then I got the kitchen sink treatment. All right. Some people didn't get that bad. A bunch of people were like, yeah, I feel sick. And I'm like, man, like, why did I get it so bad? You know, I was reading something about Asian people having more ACE2 receptors, and that could be a factor. I'm only part Asian, or maybe some people get it bad. You know, I think it's like 5% around there get hospitalized of those who do get COVID. I mean, this is a serious sickness, man. That's why I've always been like, the people who say it's just the flu are wrong, like, take it seriously. Because you know what else happens is poetic justice. These people who are all like, it's not that bad, all of a sudden they get slammed by it and they're going to be like, oh, this is really bad. So I take it seriously, but I don't think that these mandates are going to do what people think they're going to do. And I think the interesting thing is with all the mandates in place now, people are complaining that COVID deaths are actually higher this year than they were last year. So I just don't think this stuff's working. In the end, New York is going to be crippled. So, you know, by the employees not working. I'll leave it there. Let's talk about the election. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Big election news. This is a huge red wave incoming. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all then.